Hello and welcome. Welcome back to Small Things Brought Together. My name is Robin Love, and Small Things Brought Together is an ongoing series of conversations with artists and others about their creative process. So these are long format conversations. So that gives us time to think, reflect, circle back, sit in silence, change our minds. So we have time. We have time for all of that. And the focus of our conversation really is on the process that artists and others use in their creative life. So today, for Small Things Brought Together, I am very excited that it brings me in conversation with Karen Trask. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Yay.
Yeah. So Karen, you can correct me at any point, but I'm going to say a multidisciplinary artist using using many media, including, I'll try to list a few, maybe paper making, books, video, performance, music, poetry, and more. I'll say that, sculpture.
That sounds good. Yeah, we could go with that. That'll be enough for today.
Yeah, and Karen, you have been living now for close to 30 years or 30 years or more in Montreal.
Yeah, it's almost 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I think of you as an important part of the art scene in Montreal, doing many things. And yeah, and I think I also would say, the paper and the books and the sculpture and the performance and the poetry, words and literature are a big part of your content as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I've pretty much been like when I started making art, or even started at university, it was a question of whether I focus on writing or focus on making visual things, making art. And I guess the pull was just stronger towards actually using my hands and making things. So, and at one point I just decided, well, it doesn't stop you from including words in art making. And I don't know, I've always been drawn to poetry and the way words work or don't work, and the spaces between words have always been really as important as much as what they say and what they mean. And so right from the start, when I discovered paper making, I really started as a printmaker. I spent many years, up to 10 years, really focusing just on lithography
Oh,
and other aspects of printmaking. And from there, I discovered that, well, in printmaking, there's always a lot of waste of paper because either you don't like the edition or you end up, anyway, tearing parts of the edition off or the paper off. Or anyway, you ruin a lot of paper, and it just felt criminal to be throwing all that beautiful paper in the garbage. So I discovered that I could make paper pulp. And if I made a mold, I could cast paper and make sculpture. So that really got me into the whole world of sculpture because I never even studied sculpture at school. Oddly enough, I thought being an artist was painting or drawing, like everybody naively imagined. So, and I've never really done a lot of that since then. It's been mostly sculpture and exploring the whole world of sculpture. And then I started looking into. I really got interested in the etymology of words, where they come from. And I realized that text and textiles are totally linked. So that opened like this whole world of using the technologies. And I'll call them technologies because they were some of the very first technologies. And I recently heard an artist say that, if men had discovered the textiles, that would be bigger than the wheel. That would be the big discovery in the world of human discoveries, textiles. And it probably was the very first thing that we as humans began to make, to cover ourselves, to carry things, to gather food. We needed something to put it in. So I just found that really fascinating. And I guess I've been trying to find ways to connect words to visual, make words material in a way.
Mm.
So and paper making which is like, well, that is really the basis for the expansion of writing, and books in the history of human culture. That really allowed us to make books and to produce it on a mass scale. And I love paper. I love the feel of it, its texture. It can do so much. It's so what's the word? I don't even know what the word for it is, but it can do a lot. It can be flat. It can take a surface. You can cut it up. You can turn it back into pulp. You can,
Yeah.
yeah, it can
Even
really,
while you're talking, I'm thinking about like in Japan where they make clothes out of paper and yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I actually went to Japan. I spent 6 months there. And yeah, it was fascinating to discover that there's really a tradition of clothes made from paper. And it's because I want to use the word royalty, but that's not the right word. The upper class people, they prohibited the poor people from using silk, which they used to clothe themselves in. So the only thing that was left, they didn't have cotton or hemp, or that wasn't growing there. So they used paper. And it's interesting to see how paper has, really, it's been an important part of their culture. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also, even when you were talking about like print and paper and
Mhm.
text, like I always think about how printing words on a page was like such a revolution in terms of democratizing knowledge.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Hmm.
it was like, yeah, the internet of the day. Like suddenly, like you couldn't hold it back once it got started.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently when the computer first came out, we were saying, "Oh, paper's going to disappear. We're going to use less paper." Apparently, we use more than ever. So, yeah.
I'm also curious that I didn't know that you started out in printmaking and doing, in particular, lithography, which I consider probably the most laborious of the printmaking techniques.
Yeah, I didn't pick an easy one, I'll tell you that. I
Surprise,
think
surprise.
I was fascinated by the idea of drawing on a stone. It was like, oh, it's really like drawing, and you just transfer that to paper, although that's not that easy. There's really a big process involved, and
I mean,
yeah, it
so
felt
for
like,
people who maybe don't know, I mean, now people use like aluminum sheets or something, I don't know, but
yeah, I think it's evolved really a lot.
even more. But
Yeah.
back in the day, do you want to just quickly describe what was entailed to prepare the stone?
At first, you had to get this huge hunk of limestone. You can have them really big, or whatever size you want to make your drawing. But you have to polish it, and you have this lovely. I just have the French word bourriquet. Anyway, you polish the stone, make it very flat, because it has to be very flat because it's going through a press at really high pressure. And if it's not level, it can break the stone. So you don't want that. So first you polish it, get it nice and smooth and dry, and then you can draw with a grease crayon, special made grease crayons. Um, and then once you have your drawing the way you want it, there's maybe 2 or 3 processing, I'd call it processing, that you have to do on the stone to fix the image. Because basically what you're doing is you're using water and oil. And because water and oil really repel each other, that's how you fix the image on the stone, and you're able to roll ink onto the stone, and it fixes only on the drawing and not on the stone itself. So it's a process of keeping the stone moist and rolling ink onto your drawing. And it's really a long learning curve, because you can put too much ink on, you can not have enough pressure on the press. Anyway, I always felt that it was this really long, laborious dance. I called it a dance I don't know, I just felt like it was, yeah, very process.
It was very, very, yeah.
Oh, just a minute. My computer needs juice. That would be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Lithography is a whole thing for sure. Yeah. And, it's interesting too, because when I think of just ways of making art, some are just naturally have a lot of more technical aspects. I mean, you could make anything technical, of course, but if I think about printmaking, the printmaker really needs to kind of fall in love with the whole thing from start to finish, or they just won't keep going.
Way too hard. Well, I see the connection between, I grew up on a farm. That is the most laborious and time consuming vocation. I'll call it a vocation, because you have to love it. There can be on this earth. And I think I really love that aspect of cycles and work, feeling your body in motion and working and seeing the fruit of your labor. I grew up with that, working hard and not being afraid of using your muscles. So, but I had to stop making lithography. I just got interested in other things. I don't think it's as toxic now. I think they found ways to get around because we had to use a lot of Varsol and something called lithotrene, the vapors are quite toxic. And I did develop asthma at some point, although I was doing a bunch of other things that were probably not very good for my health either at that time. So I'm fine now, though. I just don't do any more lithography.
Yeah. And it is one of the oldest kinds of printmaking. It always seemed to me like, how did anyone figure this out? Because it is so processes to get it to.
True. I forget. It was Senefelder, but I don't remember what he did. It was something about horse urine.
It's always horse urine involved.
Oh, horse urine.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just interject here that, to sort of carry on. We'll look at some of your work in just a moment. But sort of this idea of technologies, so one thing that I do is spin wool. And I always think of spinning as like one of the first human technologies. Like you could make a spindle with a stick and a rock, basically. And it's such a human, I don't almost want to say need, like to like that spiral motion is just, there's something about all of it that just feels very human, and human in a connection with our earth.
Yeah, and the body that moves.
Yeah, and the body. Yeah. But I remember when you were an artist in residence at the University of New Brunswick in Moncton, and you were spinning paper.
Yes.
But you were using a drill.
I was, yes.
And I was like, what?
Well, I think I first learned with a spindle. And then I thought there has to be a faster one.
That is such a human thought too. Like, what? There has to be a better way.
I ruined my arms and my fingers. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, and now I just use a battery powered drill, which you can take anywhere and just sit there because they have a nice flat base and you can just work with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you were making nets at that point. Maybe I'll share my screen and we can
Sure.
just dig
Mhm.
right.
Oh, we have some here.
Oh, good. Yeah. All right. So we're here on your website, which easily enough is karentrask.com. So
Mhm. Yeah.
we'll put a link in the description. Um, yeah, actually, this first one right here was the project. I'm going to click on it.
Yeah. You can actually, sorry, that has to be it just shows the image, but probably under exhibitions.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You can
Yeah, I'm
get the
just like, I
whole.
might even be in this photo. That might be me right there.
You were there?
Yes.
Oh shoot, I don't remember. There were so many people that day.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you students from Moncton came. Yeah, this was in Sackville, New Brunswick, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that was a wonderful day. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. All right. So this actually, when I was looking at your website earlier, I don't know how to escape after I click on an image.
Just hit escape.
Yeah, it's not working.
Oh, okay. Hit
Um,
the space bar. Try the space bar.
oh, okay, that went down.
Yeah, then we'll just go
All right, I'll reload it.
weird. That's very weird. Okay, I'll
Yeah, I
have
don't know why that was happening to me before. All right, so
the
exhibitions.
exhibitions. Ne d'écoute, the very first one. Listening knots. They're called, in French, they're called nœud d'écoute, which essentially means a listening knot. It's just a very old term for the actual knot itself.
All right.
Um, if you go down,
I mean, we could spend our whole time just talking about
yeah,
each of these images. Is so
it was
incredible.
a whole project based on, like, often I just pick an author and I explore it. You might want to just hit the spinning,
This
that,
one?
that one. Yeah, you can watch me spinning. That was a performance piece. I came into the gallery a couple times every week and just, it was a cutout in the wall and I just stood behind there and all you could see were my hands spinning. It was kind of magical. I felt a bit like Rapunzel or some kind of fairy tale person,
Yeah.
just magic hands spinning.
And the paper was what?
It's
I love that you're like going beyond the frame.
yes. It's, oh, that's it. You spin as far as your arm will go, and then you have to attach it and keep going. That's why the rock is there with a little end of, you can see the thread.
Uh-huh.
So I'll attach it and then just throw it onto the pile on the floor.
Oh, so you don't, oh, attach it to each other.
Yeah. I was using what got me started on spinning paper and text was actually finding a Petit Larousse dictionary in the garbage or in the recycling. And I just went, and that's quite a while ago. That's almost 20 years ago. And it was just such a shock to me that, oh my God, people are throwing a dictionary in the recycling, like a whole book in recycling. And now it's totally common. People don't even have dictionaries anymore. They just go straight to the internet. So that really started a whole thinking about spinning, and I worked with that for really a long time and made really a lot of works with it.
Yeah. Should I play this one?
You can. I don't know exactly how much you'll see. It was 4 videos, all really. It was I was working with Virginia Woolf, the waves, the idea of I was just imagining myself if I were Virginia Woolf and I had a video camera, what would I do? So I played with the idea of waves in many different ways. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see it's a net that I made out of paper using the dictionary. And I just put it on the ocean and filmed it as it moved out of the frame quite far away and in the distance. So it's very just really simple actions. And the one next to it is I drew a piano, the keys, the notes of a piano in the sand as the tide was rising, and it just came in and slowly washed away my drawing. And I did the music for that as well.
So that's your playing the piano that we hear.
Yeah, yeah. And then the one that's active on the far left right now is it's a group of music students at Moncton at the university. I figured out that it took 11 people with 4 or 5 fingers each on each key of the piano. And I just asked them to go down together and to come back up, making this imaginary wave on a piano. So that's what that was. And now you can see just to the right of what we were just looking at, we're carrying I made a really, really long net. I think it was 12 feet long and 8 feet high or something like that. And we carried it across the dike and out into the Bay of Fundy. And for those of you who don't know, Bay of Fundy is this amazing body of water between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in the eastern part of Canada. And it has a very red clay basin. The whole area is super red clay. And I just wanted to float that net into the Bay of Fundy as the tide rises, and have the net, which was made of all different kinds of dictionaries, representative of the people who speak the different languages in New Brunswick. And there was the English dictionary, of course, the French dictionary. There's a local dictionary of Acadian phrases. And then I had a Mi'kmaq dictionary. So I had all those different languages mixed and woven into I just happen to have that right here. There's a piece of a test of net made with dictionary pages. So that's what it looked like a bit.
You know, and just like wool, when you add the spin into the paper, it makes it quite strong.
Yes, it's surprising. Like, I really didn't know how it would hold up at all, but it's surprisingly resilient. And even after floating on the ocean for I don't know how long, it didn't seem to do much to it at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I have that huge net, that 12-foot by 8-foot net, colored with that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be pigmented with the color of the earth. So that's
Yeah,
what,
that red clay, that's so distinctive.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I hung it in the gallery. That's the one hanging, yes. And the
I
clay
mean,
part is on the floor.
was part of it also that Virginia Woolf killed herself by drowning in the ocean? Was that part of it?
I guess I didn't want to think about that too much, but
Okay.
well, it was more about the waves.
Uh-huh.
That book, The Waves. I just found it so beautiful. the different voices all mingling from youth to old age, and based with a background of the sound of waves and
Mm.
the day, each day, and it goes through the whole, from morning till from dawn till dusk, essentially.
Mm.
So it's this time thing, and I just found it really so inspirational.
So yeah, well, so maybe this is, I mean, it's really beautiful. And I do feel like we could spend our whole time talking about this one, but again, I'm not able to escape. I don't know why.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my
But
headmaster what's going on. Yeah.
you did another project, maybe it's here, about Ulysses, James Joyce's Ulysses. Is that in textile drawings? Or
I
in paperwork?
look in textile drawings. I think it's in textile drawings. Yes, I haven't actually shown it yet. Yeah, there you can see
Um,
right in the middle there at the top.
you know, this idea also of like a person's journey from dawn until dusk or into the evening.
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever, if that's means anything. You know, that both of those stories are a day.
Yes, that's true. Um, I was mostly thinking of Penelope, to tell you the truth.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
She's been more of an inspiration. But of course, she was the spinner and the weaver, right? She was holding down the fort while Ulysses was playing around. Um, so that's been more my focus, I guess, then.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And also the idea of making and unmaking, very kind of inspirational and thoughtful for me, because it's I am taking books apart. I am, in a sense, destroying it, but I like to think of it as transforming it. It becomes something other than it was. And paper started out as a book or as a tree. Even the word buck, comes from, it means birch tree in old English.
Hmm.
And in many languages, you can find a connection between the word book and tree. I think even in Japanese, the signs are the very same.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's a very strong connection to trees and books.
Hmm.
Uh,
And I like, right.
so this is that was the alphabet, the
Yeah.
Irish tree alphabet, and I just transformed a 1997 edition of Ulysses. It has 18 chapters, and there are, funnily enough, 18 letters in the Irish tree alphabet, which is a very old alphabet, which is mostly used to inscribe stones. So visually, it's not that interesting. It's just straight lines and cuts across. So I thought it would be more interesting to use the illuminated letters, the shapes of the illuminated letters from the books of Kells,
Um,
to make the actual form of each chapter, letter chapter. And and the idea of the Irish tree alphabet is that is the letter is the first letter in the name of each tree. So this is, I don't remember the actual name of this tree in Irish, but I think it's ash tree in English. N for Nur or something like that, and it means ash tree. So I let the illuminated letters from the Book of Kells, which Ulysses, or not Ulysses, James Joyce was very he thought that was the most Irish thing that there was.
Hmm.
He was really attached to certain Irish things, and that was one of them. So that's a representation of the letter N and the ash tree.
How big are these?
They vary in size.
Mhm.
Roughly, I don't know, what's that,
Mm,
20 inches
mhm.
high or so. It totally depended on the number of pages in each chapter.
Ah, right. Oh, so like you wouldn't just like make it, and if you had extra, you wouldn't, you
No,
used
no, no, no.
every. Ah,
I limited myself to what there was. So there's
wow.
nothing more than, yeah.
Wow. And you said you have not shown this.
No, I haven't shown this yet. Yeah.
Mm. I would love to see it all together.
Mhm. I would too. Yeah. I don't know why, but I can't get anybody interested in exhibiting it.
Hmm. I mean,
I,
it's just layer upon layer upon layer in terms of meanings and references, and it's
yes, yeah,
beautiful.
yes. I missed it was the 100th anniversary of the publication of Ulysses, so there were lots of exhibitions around the world, but I missed it. I wasn't fast enough.
Oh, well, 125.
Never thought about that.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Wow. Oh, so beautiful.
I
I
actually, if you go into exhibitions, you can see a work that I did. Okay, go down to Cette Nuit des Fers. Still down more there. You can click on that.
is that
So
videotape?
that, no, it's actually a reel-to-reel tape. And what that is the recording of the entire book of Ulysses on reel-to-reel tape, quarter-inch reel-to-reel tape. That was quite an amazing project. I did that in 2008, and that was my first real encounter with Ulysses by James Joyce. Yeah, you can.
Was it playing in the background? Sorry, I just.
He lifted his gaze from the idle shelf to the old man's stare, thinking what money was. He made money.
What's happening there?
You know,
What are you doing with your hands?
So that is what's the word I'm looking for? It's a playback head from a reel-to-reel tape machine. So I had it so that I could hold it in my hands, and I used a sewing machine motor to advance the. Essentially, I am acting as the player,
Oh,
and it was attached to a mixer and an amplification system, a stereo. So depending on how well I was able to coordinate my hands and my hands and foot with the sewing machine motor, it would go really, really fast like that, or really, really slow like that. So I sat in the gallery and played Ulysses.
wow.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, though, even though I sat there every day for, I think it was just 2 weeks, because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to go crazy if I'd have to do that for longer than that. I only got through maybe 2 chapters.
Whoa.
Because I would do something else too, but maybe I can just let you finish playing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
pride of the English. Do you know what is the proudest word you will ever hear?
Russell, 1 guinea. Cousin, 10 shillings. Bob Reynolds, half a guinea. Fuller, 3 guineas.
Mrs. McKernan, 5 weeks board. The lump I have is useless. For the moment, no, Stephen answered. White pine, Mr. Burr. Merciless bright eyes, straight in her. Listen, straight up there. Sergeant peered his hand through his planted garments. Hockey sticks were all
So that's what it was like. But I would also, the tape that was played, once it was played, I would take it to a temporary installation of a loom. You can probably see down farther in the, scroll down a bit.
Like
can-
this?
Yeah, that. I would weave, I wove the last word of Ulysses
Yes.
in the window of the gallery.
Talk about Penelope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and I called it Tonight Undo. Cette nuit des fires.
Mm.
So
Wow.
that was the very first project I did with Ulysses.
Have you done others besides those two?
With Ulysses,
Mm.
I've done 2 projects with Proust, In Search of Lost Time, which seemed pretty appropriate for the idea of time. Under exhibitions, you might see Proust's bed waiting for a kiss.
Mm.
So what I did is I made this day bed and sat in it and read Proust and just pulled out any reference or citation referring to writing or anything to do with sewing or weaving or spinning or anything to do with that kind of textile reference. And maybe you can see details
Mm.
of the bed. Yeah. I
Here.
transformed them into, it's like I made a quilt of all different ways of weaving together the words and put that on the bed. And when people, it was in this, it's like in Montreal, we have a lot of, not so much now anymore, but they were like, they called them hangars, or they're like sheds, garden sheds. And maybe in the past, people would cook in them for the summer, or even ours had chickens in them. So they had all kinds of uses. But I did it in the second floor of a garden shed. I held the exhibition. And when people would come, I would, you can see me actually spinning the very first dictionary I pulled out of the recycling.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
there,
one maybe?
that one, yeah. So
Wow.
that's me with the drill and the dictionary and making the very first, I just made a big ball. That's the very first spinning I did with the dictionary that I found in the recycling. And that's
Wow.
2006. So,
And well, maybe this is a good segue then into I think it is the piece you did in Sackville,
mhm.
where you rolled the ball.
Yeah, it's not this one. It's do it would be under performance,
Oh, okay.
but we're
Oh, I
in
see. Keep going.
that's Barachois. Here, there it is down here. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is in Sackville, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
This was while you were also still artist in residence with the University of Moncton?
Yes,
Oh, no.
yes. There's images down at the bottom too. Yeah, it was it's a sculpture I made 2008. And it's just a huge ball with a hole into the middle of it. Yeah, you can see it there. And it's all just different kinds of dictionaries, all spun into paper threads and wound in like a giant ball of yarn. And it was part of an exhibition with a landscape, a huge landscape on handmade paper. And I decided that I thought that I would spin it out and get rid of it, but that didn't happen. I spun it out on the campus of Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick, and through the little town. And I didn't really know how long the thread was, and I didn't really know how long it would take. And it ended up being roughly 5 kilometers. And it took me, I started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I finished at 7 in the evening.
Oh my God.
I rolled it all out, and then I thought, well, I can't leave it like that all over the town. So I rolled it back up. So I still have it.
That's amazing. Like the first part of it that you unrolled had to sit there for like 5 hours. It didn't get cut or people didn't muck with it.
I actually cut it to cross the road. I didn't want it getting, people getting caught in it or traffic. Yeah, so I just broke it and started it again on the other side of the road, things like that. And I just rolled it into a park, and the kids would join me, and they loved it. They wanted to help me. Everybody wanted to help me push it along. And then I rolled it into Struts, which is the artist-run center in Sackville, and back out again, and people helped me. I had lots of help. It was fun. A crazy, crazy fun thing to do.
It looks very fun.
And now it's all rolled up with bits of leaves and twigs from Sackville.
I want to talk about the project that you're working on right now, which doesn't involve spinning paper. Though it involves, I guess, I don't know, maybe it doesn't involve even any paper. I want to talk about your poetry project that you're working on.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll stop the share for now. Yeah. Yeah. So how would you describe it?
I don't know. I was talking to somebody at one point last fall, and I just said, I've always thought of myself as a poet, and I've written lots of poems throughout my whole life, but I've never really done anything with them or been really consistent about writing poetry. So kind of on the spur of the moment, I said, I'm going to write a poem every day for a month. And I have a friend who's currently doing a residency in Bergen, Norway, and he works a lot with artificial intelligence and writing and video. And he said, oh, well, can I be your witness? Send them to me. So I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
I just want to put a pin in that and say, like, that is amazing that was his response. I mean, it's just so, like, yes, you need a witness. Yes,
Yeah.
such a great response.
Even better than that. Once I started sending them to him, he went, oh, can I respond? Can I be your echo? I go, oh, yeah, do it. So today is day 149.
Wow.
I've been sending a poem out. I think I only missed a couple days last week, and that's because I was visiting family. And we have a whole corpus of me and David. Just it's been really amazing. And to see how he takes it apart. He takes what I write and he makes an echo. He either makes the negative of it, makes the mirror of it, or responds in some kind of way to what I wrote. So it's what more can you ask in life than that? That's amazing. And I don't know when I'll stop.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
you just let it go until it becomes something else.
Yeah. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's so, well, you know, it's just this moment kind of coming to me that in some ways, you know, with Joyce and Virginia Woolf and Proust, you have been in collaboration.
It's true. Yeah. It's like I make a visual or performance representation of what that word, that text body was.
Yeah, or
For
you've been
me,
the
anyway.
echo. You've
Yeah,
been
an echo. Yeah, echo is a good word. Yeah.
so it's nice that someone else is being your echo, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's he's kept me going because I don't know if I would have stopped or when I would have stopped or if I would have stopped, but I just call them everyday poems and they're not long. Sometimes they're only 3 lines long. And today
So,
was
you know, I have to say, you know, on so for this Small Things Brought Together, I have interviewed people who are not visual artists,
Mhm.
but I have never interviewed a poet actually
Mhm.
about their process. You know, I'm sure it has to do with as much just sort of people I have access to easily and also, you know, kind of a feeling of I want to, you know, be able to speak with some, you know, ask the right questions kind of thing. And maybe poetry feels a bit outside my realm. But so if you're doing this every day, like, do you have a process? Do you sort of get started in a particular way, or is it just different every single day?
Well, the way I started it was, okay, you're just going to sit in your desk in your chair and look out the window and whatever comes to your mind, you're going to write it down. And it can be inspired by what I'm reading, what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing. And I just write kind of unconsciously on a piece of paper by hand. And then I go to the computer and what's really fun about the computer is that I find that so often the editing or the actual poetry making process is in the computer where I
Hmm.
can remove words, move them around. It
Uh-huh.
becomes very manual in a way of shifting things around and finding the right rhythm and it's not visual, although sometimes I can make a visual kind of laying out of the words to accentuate the meaning of the poem. But it's really about the music of the rhythm of the
Mhm.
words.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of reading out loud to myself to find the right process.
Mhm. Mhm. So you said you started out that way. So now is it more that there's like this give and take with your witness, or do you not think about him when you're
No,
writing?
I don't think about him at all.
I like that. Or you think,
Sometimes I think when I send it, I'm going, oh my God, what's he going to think about that? Because it's so different. 'Cause, um, I can go in any kind of subject, anything. What comes back repeatedly is the seasons, the trees, the sky, the clouds. What I see
Mm.
can really influence what I'm writing. Um, but also people I meet, events, family, um, whatever. It's because it
Mm.
really is connected to the everyday. Um, but I'm finding that I have to dig deeper as I go.
Mhm.
It's like in the first
Mm.
100 days, it's like I had lots of subject matter. I had lots of things that I wanted to say. And now it's like, okay,
Mm.
you just have to sit here longer. You just have to go find a deeper inspiration somehow. So I have no idea where it's going to go.
Great though that you don't. Do you ever sort of revisit in that going deeper, like, oh, on day 32, I did this, but actually I want to come back, or no, that hasn't been that
I
kind of.
haven't done that. No, maybe it happens unconsciously, but no. Somehow there's always something new to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that just the whole project so inspirational. You know, not that I would necessarily take up that as a practice, but I don't know that I'm just so interested in this idea that something more becomes available when we through repetition, you
Yeah.
know. But it's not that you're repeating the same subject, but you're repeating the intention, or I don't know what, maybe you would have a word of what's being repeated. I mean, the form, I guess you could say. But
Well, maybe it's an undoing
hmm,
making, because I really want to show you something. Just hang on there a second. This is interesting because these are old lithographs that I tore up. I didn't want to see anymore. But I found them lately and I went, oh, they're still interesting.
oh, wow. Yeah. So there's the lithograph would have been the figure, and then you've
There are also some of the letters, and I've added collage letters on top. And this is the tear because I tore them all. There's
Yeah.
5 of them, so I tore them all.
Wow. And so you sort of filled in the gap with are those your poems?
No, it's just it was part of another piece
Uh-huh.
from a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
I just this is printed on linen paper. Here's another one.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So this is me spewing
Yeah.
my poem. Yeah, I'm just having fun.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, undoing and redoing. I do that a lot.
I was going to say that feels like something that is going back throughout your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Undoing.
Yeah, I'm going to be showing a fairly large sculptural piece in May here in Montreal. My partner and I bought a studio building, it was a tofu factory, and we transformed it into 3 beautiful little spaces. And one of them is my workspace, and the other is my partner's. And the third space is a project space for artists to show work in, and we call it Produire Rien, because we just removed letters from the original sign outside, which was alimentaire et produit oriental. So we just removed stuff to have the produire rien, which means produce nothing. And I'm going to be showing an older sculpture it dates 2010, and it's a huge boat. It's like a shipwreck, the prow of a boat, but it's made out of dictionary covers, and spilling out from the back of the boat are all the pages that have been wound into cords. So I'm going to re-show that, and I've decided that I can't keep it anymore. I don't want to keep it anymore. There's no museum that wants to collect it. It's too big. Everybody's storerooms are full, overflowing. So I'm going to turn it back to its original material and in a performance completely undo it.
Oh, wow.
So that's
You're
for
undoing.
May. So
Yeah.
that's an undoing. That's thinking back on your whole life as an artist. I had a moment of, I won't say complete breakdown, but I was pretty sad. It was like, oh, I worked so hard to make that piece and now I'm just going to take it apart. But you know what? It feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It feels very transformative in a way, which is what it's going to be doing. And
Yeah.
it's also very accepting of where I am in my making life. I'm not a young artist anymore with a lot of years ahead of me. And I don't want somebody to be left to look after stuff.
Yeah. 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 I was going to say, it feels very real.
Yeah,
Sorry.
looking after it now. And
Yeah.
in a creative way, I'm thinking it's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about, you're having the dictionary, someone threw it out or put it in the recycling, and then you took it and transformed it.
Mhm.
And, it became something new. And then, yeah, like why would that process actually stop?
Exactly. It's just continuation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you can, it's in here right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh,
That's the back end of it. Sorry.
inside the guts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's something also like when I say it feels very real, just oh, your work in particular is so labor intensive.
Yeah. Oh, it's
And
really hard to show it to you in the computer.
yeah, the lighting isn't so great, but I think you can get an idea.
Yeah, so people are really interested, they can check
Yeah.
those out.
If they're in Montreal, they can go see it.
Yeah, pretty much the very last week of May. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think something that uh I think this is in life, it isn't just in art making, but like when we invest a lot of energy and time, life force, we invest our life force energy into something, whether it's an object, an art piece, a relationship, a job, you know, I can get, I'll just keep it personal, like I can get just sort of attached to the investment
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
something separate from the actual thing.
Yeah.
you know I'm
It's
invested in
okay. You
yeah,
already invested that time in it and you can't bring it back again. So let
yeah,
it go.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
you had pleasure doing it, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it just feels like a very sort of apt I mean, apt reminder, because it's kind of
Yeah.
actually just the fact of life.
Yes. Yes. Continuation. Mhm.
Well, maybe as a way of sort of wrapping up,
Mhm.
is there anything else you want to share, or how can people see your work? We have your website.
Yeah, there's KarenTrask.com. You can follow me on Instagram. I like putting things up as I make them, things that I discover. I'm not a daily poster by any means, but I I do have quite a few followers already, so that's nice. I'd like to share today's poem actually.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
What would
yeah,
that be? I
that'd
can
be
write it.
fantastic.
Okay. Day 149. Let's say at 10:45 this morning, I will imagine that I am the artist Dirk Waters, and I will fall down and pretend I'm dead. I imagine that my consciousness will float out of my body, rising into the sky. Expanding as it rises, it will not so much see my body as feel it far below and the air and the earth all around. Breaking, my consciousness shatters into millions of pieces, attaching to antimatter, and slowly become light. There,
Mm.
that's about transformation.
I was gonna say undoing.
Complete undoing. Yeah, no, it's currently FIFA, which is the Festival International de Film sur l'Art in Montreal, and we saw a film about the Belgian artist Dirk Waters. I think every day, at a given time during the day, he falls down and pretend he's dead.
Oh.
What a great idea!
Oh, and one day it'll be true.
It'll happen.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Gosh.
You're most welcome. This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Mhm. You take care.
You too.